this one point that I'll never forget is he was like, this one goes out to all the women. and I was like, all right, well, my ears are pricked. What have you got for me?
Yeah.
And he was just singing this song that was like, a woman is there to keep you warm and tell you when you're being wrong. And then there was this like static graphic behind him that was just like a big cloud lady, like a lady in the sky.
Oh my God.
With like the perfect tits
Yeah.
and like perfect body. I'm like, thank you.
Good on you, Brando.
That's all of us. Yes, that's all women.
Welcome to How to Do Everything, a podcast hosted by me, Tommy Dasilo, a stupid little man who is attempting to assemble a complete guide to the human experience by chatting with different guest experts every week about what they've learned, what they've always known, and what they feel the stupidest about. Today on the show, I am joined by Jordan Barr, who is going to teach us how to be a pathological liar. We also chat about the bizarre way in which Jordan and I found out that we went to the same high school, and we get deep into Mormon culture. But before we get into the episode quickly, I just need to let you know that I am about to head out on tour. My new stand-up show, Main Character, is coming to a bunch of different places. January the 29th, it opens in Perth until February the 2nd. Then it is in Adelaide, February the 21st. And then in Melbourne at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival from March the 26th. And then Brisbane and Sydney in May. Tickets to all of those shows are on sale now at tommydasilo.com. I would love to see you there. You can also discuss things from this episode on our Patreon, patreon.com/howtodoeverything. If you want to get on there, it is free at the moment. There will be some bonus paid content coming in the future, but for now, you can get some free little extra things relating to the show. This episode, Jordan Barr joins me. You may be familiar with Jordan from Triple J Weekend Breakfast. She's also written for Spicks and Specs and Question Everything on the ABC. And she's a fantastic stand-up comedian. She is about to head out on her own tour, Dog Y, which is coming to all of the comedy festivals, Melbourne, Sydney, all those places. You can find information about that at comedy.com.au. I'm a big fan of Jordan. I love her work. I was stoked to have her on the show. So enjoy How to Do Everything with Jordan Barr.
I remember it was a month ago. It
is still a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
But I was shooting for my friend Irvy's show, and they'd shot at this school in the north of Melbourne for like the whole time.
Yep.
And then the last shoot day, everybody else had shot at this other school as well. So everybody was kind of used to the changing school location. But I was just so convinced it was at this like place in Preston. And so I left, my call time was like 7 a.m. I left at 6 just in case there was traffic. Got to Preston and no one's there.
Okay.
And I was like, fuck. And then I was like half an hour late to the call time, which on set is so bad. And the joke was, it was in Footscray. It was 5 minutes from my house. I could have walked there.
Perfect. I mean, that's so many of my fuck ups with that stuff are like, I get to a hotel and I actually don't have the hotel booked for the right day or a flight or whatever it is. But that's all just very that's just like I'm the only one that loses out of that.
I've done this
but
to
a
myself.
show where it's like when you're letting other people down, that just makes you feel awful.
I think because when it's just you're like, well, I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah, I deserve this.
So I deserve this, so who cares about me?
Yep.
But then when you know and you know as well, especially with like shoots, you're like, this is money and this is people's time.
Yep.
And like, I was just, you're just so scared that everybody thinks you're taking the piss and you're like, no, something's fucking wrong with me.
Yeah, and when you're quote unquote talent, that's the other thing too, is like you feel like to the crew it looks like, well, look who we have here. Jordan just swanning in whenever she feels like it, when it's like, no, I was up probably earlier than you to make sure that I got here on time, but I went to the wrong place because and I can say this, disabled. I'm literally disabled.
I couldn't tell you how much I prepared to be wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
In the lead up to this,
Yep.
you wouldn't believe. I put a smoothie in the fridge.
Yep.
I put a smoothie in the fridge.
Yep.
For me to have in the morning.
Hey, do you know how many hours of my life I've spent at a cafe, like an hour before a meeting, because I was just worried about being late? I waste so much time overcompensating for these things. And then the one that slips through the cracks, it's like, no, I'm owed. This is time in lieu.
This is it. I just like, I the amount of times I've gotten to the airport like 4.5, 5 hours early for a flight.
Yep.
And then suddenly I'm like, oh, it's a 20-minute walk to the gate.
Yep.
Oh, I got to run.
Yeah. That's
like
classic.
I've been here the whole time.
Yep. I've been sitting at I've missed flights, and like I've booked what was it? I've looked at the arrival time thinking that was the departure time. I've booked I was going up somewhere for a night, and I've booked the return flight a month later instead. I've been sitting at a gate because there was a flight that was leaving around the same time, and I've been sitting at a gate being like, oh, it's a bit delayed. Oh no, it was actually the next gate and it's gone already.
Especially now that you have headphones as well. Like I'm not listening to the lady being like, Ms. Barr, please make your way. I can't hear her.
People that can just switch off at the gate. I'm like checking the screen every 3 seconds to make sure they haven't moved the gate on me. I've done stand up about this, but this is all completely true. I bought a pair of noise cancelling headphones. I was on a flight going to Sydney, and the flight landed, and what had happened is halfway through the flight, they had said that there was an engineering fault with the plane and it had to turn around and go back to Melbourne. But I had missed that announcement. So we land, and I'm walking through the airport, and I'm like, wow, this is interesting. They've sort of renovated the airport and made it look a bit more like the Melbourne. They must be trying to get all the airports to like look the same. And then I get out the front of the airport.
Melbourne wins again.
See a big sign saying, welcome to Melbourne. And I'm like, I think that it's finally happened. I'm having a full-blown nervous breakdown. What the fuck has happened here? I've sat on a plane for an hour and a half.
You got out of the airport.
Yeah. I was like at the door looking at a sign saying, welcome to Melbourne. And I'm like shaking. I'm like, I truly, this is it. I'm having an episode.
I don't know where
this
I am.
is it. I'm going to be committed.
Day.
Yeah. And then find out what's happened, get on the replacement flight. A friend of mine was going to pick me up in Sydney. He then, like, I'm just dealing with all of that.
Yeah.
And then he's calling me and he's like, hey, you nearby? I'm like, well, he's like, hey, they keep moving me on from the 15-minute zone out the front. Are you going to be out soon? I'm like, get ready to do maybe like 15 to 20 laps around the...
See, that's when you like direct them to the Macca's parking lot. Sit there till I tell you to come.
Do that little cheat code, that little hangout near the airport. So, yeah, I mean, look, the fact that we both got in the room together to do this episode.
And seamlessly as well.
Yeah.
We've done well.
Yeah.
Like, this could have gone so much worse.
Yeah.
And it will.
Yeah.
And it will.
Honestly, at this point, the quality of what we do in here doesn't even matter to me. This is when I get to the end and find out that, like, none of this was recording.
I can't believe how much I will, like, how much leeway I will give myself just to be like, all you have to do is show up. Yeah. Sometimes you actually need to do more.
Yeah, I'm a bit, because one of the things that, by the way, so I sent you a little, like a questionnaire. Something I've been trying to do with the
questionnaires.
Show. Bit of pre-prep.
I think it's
on
great.
my end and on the guest's end. Mm-hmm. And you're the second person out of like that I've sent it to. Out of like the 5 of these I've done. It's a recent thing for the show.
Okay.
And the only other person I've sent it to refused to do it. So
who was that?
John Safran. He's like, I don't want to do homework. No, because I don't know if this episode will have come out yet, but I sent it to him and he sent me a message being like, hey, if there's anything you want to ask me about, here's my phone number. And I'm like, you don't need to send me your phone number. You can just
do this.
You could just answer these.
That's so funny. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I mean...
I thought the questions were great. I felt like they were easy to answer.
Thank you.
I felt like they were fun too and clear.
Question in bold and then a little follow-up in italics just to give you a bit of a flavour just of what I'm like, sort of getting at. Thank you.
Juice you up a little bit, give you something to play with. But also, I wouldn't be surprised. I thought you were about to say that, like, you've done X amount of episodes of this podcast and only 2 people have done the questionnaire.
No, so far it's 2 people have been sent it and 50% of them have done it. So because I was sort of thinking for a bit, like, because I sent you it like well in advance too.
Yeah.
So there was a period where no one had done it, and I was like, if neither of them that I'm doing in the 1 week I'm giving up on the survey. I'm just not going to send it out to guests anymore.
I also sent you I'll do this today, and then 3 days later.
Because then you don't want to follow up on the day and be like, hey mate, just wondering if I was like, you know what, I've got enough to talk about. I'll freestyle it.
It's just like, it's so thankless to be working, and it's such a cliche. I feel like even Lane bringing it up, but it is like, it's a cliche for a reason. Like comedians, actors, whatever, anyone in these like creative fields are here because we can't do anything else.
Exactly.
People think that it's like this big calling or whatever. It's like, no, like I had to find something else to latch onto because I was so bad at everything else in school.
That's it. If I was any better at anything else, I would be doing that. Yeah. And I'm famously disorganized, like hopeless. And the one time I try and, bring a bit of organization into this show, the first person that I try and like roll that out with refuses to participate.
And like also kind of a fancy guest as well, where you're like, you're probably like, I hope he appreciates these questions.
Yeah. But instead I was like, really, I was like, has he just looked at this and gone, God, this is so lame. What are these dumbass questions? But I was asking you on there, because this show is about me not knowing anything, not knowing how to do anything.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm asking people is like, what are the areas that you feel like you're wanting to get more skilled at?
Yeah.
And you mentioned fitness and exercise in that. And to go back to what you were saying about just showing up is enough. That's where I've gotten to with the gym. And I really, because I do like HIIT classes.
Yeah.
And I really do need to start treating it as like, no, you get in here and you give it, because like when you're getting back into it after a sustained period of sickness or injury or whatever, I do find that I go back in with the mentality of like, you know what, walking up those stairs, that's like 90% of the battle. Whatever happens in here now doesn't matter. So it's like, I'm looking at the timer and there's like 15 seconds to go. I'm like, yeah, that'll do.
Because I feel like so many people have been like, half the battle is getting there.
Yeah.
And I was like, half the battle?
Yeah.
That's like, getting there's the easiest thing, because I can, I have to create fun games for myself. Or like once I get there, I get to go get a little smoothie.
Oh, yep.
And get a treat. But I just can't. I've been trying to do like weight training and stuff at the gym, and I go with my partner because I didn't do sport growing up. Like I just couldn't. I found it so boring. And then like I'm at the gym and I'm like looking for literally a PE teacher to say that I have my period too. I'm like, I still have that mindset. I'm there. I'm like rolling my eyes doing this shit.
Yeah.
And I was like to Kayla, I was like, I'm not getting any stronger. And Kayla was like, I've never seen someone not try. And they were like, I don't think that you can. Why are you surprised? You've been grabbing the same weights that are too easy for you for the longest time. Like, cause I like it feeling easy.
Exactly. If you do like a chin up and you've got like all the bands on,
it feels amazing.
Like, I'm the fucking strongest person in the world.
It feels like you get like double bouncing on a trampoline.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, you've never felt more powerful in your life.
Anytime I'm at the gym and there's like a new thing that they've brought in.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it and I'm like, man, this is like, I must be getting really good because this one's piss easy. It's just a countdown to the trainer coming around and being like, no offense, but you could not be doing this more wrong. You're meant to be holding it like this. You're meant to be moving like this. And then it's like, oh, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Can't you just leave me in this fake reality where I think this is easy?
Absolutely. I used to think I was like so flexible, and I did dancing at uni, and I was like, I was never a good dancer, but I was like, the one thing I have is that I can do the splits. I can like kick my head when I kick and stuff like that. And I didn't think that was a problem. I thought that was a positive. And then like I started dancing at uni and had like pro dance teachers.
I thought it was a positive to be kicking myself in the head.
Hey, they love it.
Feels great.
Feels great. I don't have to think about it. I can barely think. I'm concussed as hell. But I remember,
maybe it's not ADD. Maybe it's actual brain damage from kicking yourself in the head.
Fuck, probably. Those kneecaps will get you. But I remember teachers would come up and like straighten my hips out.
Oh, yeah.
Or just like adjust me ever so slightly. And I felt like I was about to tear open. I was like, what the hell? And it turns out that my flexibility was just some kind of injury. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the gym is kind of the same thing. It's a zone where it's like, oh, so this person's allowed to just come around and manhandle me?
Yeah.
Just move my hips around.
You're just going to grab me? Sure.
Not just grabbing me, but grabbing me in the danger zone and just moving me, just swiveling me around.
So you cannot grab my hips like that.
Yeah, okay. But so you've mentioned school a couple of times now. This is something I wanted to get into because you and I know each other a little bit. We get together a little bit, and we have something in common that isn't the craziest thing to have in common, but I think the way that we found out that we have it in common is kind of insane. So a couple of years ago, breaking news story about Kanye's new wife, Melbourne's very own Bianca, how do you say her last name? Sensori. Yep. This kind of, goes public, and she's a Melbourne girl, so the press are going crazy about that. What's her previous workplace? Where did she go to school? And I'm reading all this at home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's where I went to school. That's kind of weird. I'm like, oh, how funny is that? And then I'm on Twitter and I see you posting about it, being like, yeah, I went to school with this girl. I bet you, because she's obviously like way after me being there, but she was like around the time that you were there, right?
She was like in a couple of my classes. And
Right.
I just like I don't know her. Like we weren't friends. She wouldn't know me.
Yeah.
I only know her because she was cool and hot and funny.
Right.
So she didn't have much to do with me.
Oh, come on. But like.
But I was like, I remember getting it. It was like, I was literally laying my head on the pillow. I was about to fall asleep. I was like a second away from sleep and my phone buzzed. And it was from a friend who I'm still close with. Like we hang out, but a text message, like we usually, DM each other. But when there's friends where you're like, if I'm getting a text, something's going down.
You're driving. You found this out while driving, and you can't wait until you've pulled over.
You have to pull. And
you need to get Siri on the case. Yeah.
You're like, what's the quickest app I can get to right now?
It's like, they would have messaged you through Uber Eats if that had been the first thing that their thumb had hit.
Deliver something to me with a little note.
Yeah, that's great. Notes for the order. No, don't need any sauce or anything or napkins or anything like that. But can you just tell her when you get to the door that
can you write this on the brown paper bag?
Kanye's new wife went to our school.
And it was just so like, and I had this moment of just like, I was like, it took me a second to remember who she was, because I was like, I know the name. And then I was just like awake. I couldn't sleep for like another hour. And it makes, another hour is being generous. It was like, I didn't sleep.
Yeah.
It's just all this misplaced energy. I was pacing. Pacing my house.
I had the same thing and I didn't even know it, because it's just like, it's just this weird link where you're like, I've got to do something with this.
Yeah.
But then then I see online you posting about this and I'm like, oh, so I've found out two people that I went to the same school as. But then even weirder than that is, just by complete coincidence, you and I were going to the same party that night. We were going to Irvy's 30th that night.
That's so
And so I was like, oh, this is so bizarre, the timing of like, not only like I would have seen you at a gig eventually or messaged you or something, but it's like, oh, we can just get into this later tonight.
And it had literally, that's right. It had happened because I was doing some work in Sydney and flown back for Sydney's 30th, for Irvy's 30th. Oh my God.
And then cut
so
to turning
funny.
up and just me just dragging you into a corner and chewing your ear off about our mutual school. My fiance being there, not really knowing many people and being like, yeah, this is a fun chat, I guess. Just like, whoa, that teacher was still there. That's crazy.
It is so funny because I feel like the school we went to just really had like a chokehold.
Yeah.
And then because it was just like the like Victorian private school mentality as well of like it defines you as you grow up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it, and it's so weird. I don't think.
Well,
that's
and then you get
necessarily
older
healthy.
and you start working in the arts, and it's like it's very shameful to bring up that you went to a private school.
Sorry if I've doxed you.
A lot of people hate it. No, I've talked about this before, but like, yeah. So, but yeah,
So
like
funny.
it's so funny to talk about, and like, realizing that like a lot of the same teachers were still there, and I mean, I'm still getting the the school magazine gets delivered to my parents' house, and they bring it round every time there's a new one when they turn up, and I'm like, I don't want this. It just goes straight in the bin. I could not care. I could not care less about. It's always just like, oh, look at this grade 1 kid planting a little tree in some dirt out the front of the school. It's like, hey, I'm glad that's happening.
Magazine.
But I really, yeah.
It's so thick.
What is going on in there?
It's like the last bastion of the printed press.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
I'm like, who's the editor here? It's like this Anna Wintour figure.
Right.
Because it's so beautifully put together as well.
Yeah.
But I'm like, who's sitting down
a lot
and
of designs
reading this?
going into it. You know what would have been nice? You know when you like, if let's say you buy a ticket through a website and you get to that, you know, you put your email in and your card details and everything.
Yeah.
And there's that last bit where it's like, hey, do you want to still, it's like, do you, and they always like lump them together. They try and trick you. They try and just get you on a bit of a roll. It's like, hey, you've got to click, I agree to the terms and conditions. It's like, well, I have to do that. And then under that, it's like, hey, do you want to get the mailing list and be kept up to date with all the news and deals and offers and stuff?
Well, they did that to us.
I want that when I finish year 12. It's like, hey, do you ever want to hear from us again? No, thanks. Not one of those people that's going to make my high school my entire identity, even though here I am 20 years later spending 20 minutes talking about it on a podcast.
I signed up for it because they did give us the option, but it was on the last day of school. We were all bawling our eyes out. I kid you not, Someone Like You by Adele was playing. The recent hit, Someone Like You.
I thought you meant Someone Like Me.
Someone Like You.
Walked through.
You were emceeing the whole thing. No, they were playing Adele. There were boys standing on a balcony bawling their eyes out. Like everybody was crying so much. It was
balcony that looked out over the tuck shop?
Yeah. And they were just up there staring at us bawl. Everybody was crying, hugging. I was hugging people I didn't fucking talk to.
that layout, not to make this too specific and granular, but I moved to that school at the start of year 11.
Oh, yeah.
And I could not believe the layout of that part of the school when I turned up. This like weird like Roman gladiatorial area where you could like look down on people eating their lunch just like struck me as such a weird piece of design.
It was a great place to get spat on as well.
Like bad ventilation in there too, just like no airflow.
And the sound was a cacophony.
Oh yeah,
it
big
was
time.
like
Big time.
there was stuff bouncing off all the walls. So we're
I
all
wonder if there's anyone listening that even though we haven't named it, just from the handful of things we've said has been able to go,
they can find it.
That's the school I went to. Write in if you think we're talking about your school.
We've kind of we've been so like sus about it, but have given enough information. That's
easy to find. I'm happy for people to find it. I just don't, for whatever reason, I just don't feel like we should say the name. I mean, people can just look up Kanye's wife, and that's on there. That's easy
that's
enough.
true. That's the easy identifier
if they care.
But it was so funny because we were all just like in pieces, so vulnerable. It was also like VCE time. And remember when that was like the biggest deal in the world? And then somebody like grabbed me and was like, would you like to sign up to the mailing list? They could have grabbed me and been like, hey, would you like us to cut off your legs just for a bit of fun so that you could see these people again?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it means a lot to me.
Please.
And I don't even like, I had a fine time at high school. Like I know a lot of people didn't as well. So that's totally fine. But it wasn't like I was so excited to leave. Not out of like a fuck this place kind of thing.
But you're ready to.
I was like, I'm ready to be an adult.
See the world and do the. Yeah. No,
stuff.
I get you.
But I couldn't believe how much I was like,
we had a guy in my year level send a message around. Maybe this was you in your year level. Send a message around a year after proposing a 1 year school reunion, and it was like, I kind of still just run in, you know, especially when you like go out clubbing and stuff around that age. Everyone just goes to the same places anyway. So it's like, I'm still kind of regularly seeing a lot of these people without having to try too hard. It's like, that is the guy that it's like, you're too into this.
You're too
attached to this.
The people who come back to visit teachers as well.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like jangling car keys.
Yep.
My 10-year reunion was good and I wasn't going to go because I was doing a show and it clashed. And so I got a text from my friend of the show, Anna Wolf, who we're in the same year. I assume she's friend of the show anyway.
Friend of the show is someone on a thing that's brand new, that's not your show. No, I love it. Yeah, I like Anna.
Anyway, come on in.
She's another mutual alum, by the way. Because you guys were friends at school, right?
Yeah, we were in the same year. We were friends. We've been friends since year 8.
Huge.
And then she was like, it's actually really good. You should come. So I got there at like 11:30. Everybody's blotted. I'm trying to catch up.
Oh, nice.
And then I'm like, then the pub is closing down at 12. And this is, I feel like if 17-year-old me knew that I did this, they would either be mortified or proud of me. I fucking rounded everyone up. I'm like, we're kicking on. I was like, who's coming with me? Like just grabbing people that I used to be so intimidated by in high school. But it just like, it felt like everybody was a little bit, there were, you know, obviously some dickheads and stuff like that, but everybody had mellowed out so much and everybody just wanted to talk to one another. But I just could not believe the fucking masculine energy that I had walking into that reunion. Like, I'm a party girl.
To think you're almost not going to go, but it's like, I think that's the thing is everyone wants to be like the hero of the school reunion.
Yeah.
Or like, I imagine there's like a lot of desperation to prove that you're like doing well. Probably 10 years is like kind of the worst one for that, where people can still be in maybe there's some people there who are like only just finished uni or whatever. Took a bit of time off.
Yeah.
But you've already won by turning up late and being like, hey, no big deal. I was just doing this other show that meant that I couldn't be here. It's like, that is just like, that's such a huge stunting on everyone moves straight through the door that like, of course you have that confidence.
Let's go.
I didn't even need this.
And I like no makeup, looked shit. Everybody else looked so good. I think it was because I was like, I got nothing to prove.
Yeah. That's
little
the
of
best.
these people know I'm at rock bottom. Let's get a drink.
Well, because you were also saying on this famous survey.
Oh, the survey, yeah.
that one of the earliest like
friend of the show, the survey.
Friend of the show, the survey. Well, I think Honor's more of a friend of the show than the survey. The survey is actively disliked by someone that's been on the show. Your like earliest memory of something you remember being very good at is that you were good at lying when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And so I'm now wondering, you know, is any of this real? Did you round up everyone at the reunion? Was Bianca Sensori in your year level?
Oh my God, getting caught out. It's so funny. I get so scared talking about it. Not scared, but I'm always like, I just want people to know that I think she's great.
Yeah. No,
like,
don't worry.
genuinely.
I'm not trying to like get you outed in the Daily Mail or anything like that.
But it's so funny because it's so hectic. I think it's like that one of those things. I'm sure you feel like this other stuff as well. But when you have like any kind of thing where stuff is getting put out or like your name is now attached to whatever you say, which nobody cares about me anyway. But there's like, I remember when the Bianca stuff happened, it wasn't just me, but a lot of people from our high school were getting contacted by the media.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Being like, can we get you on our show? Can we get you on this to talk about it? We want the scoop.
We want to find out some like embarrassing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've got no scoop. She's real smart.
Yeah. Yeah, there's people from both schools that I went to that I'm like, God, it would be awesome if this person got famous and I could just destroy them.
Could tell you all the fuck shit they've said. Oh, dream. No, I am, yes, I was a big liar as a kid because it was fun to do.
Yeah.
And I also the big lie that I did, which circling back to the PE situation, they used to make us exercise before prep. Like it was this new, like a study came out that showed that if you did like a lap around the oval, you were more attentive in class or whatever, which I
God, I
disagree
went
with.
to school when I did.
Back then you used to just do a line and then get into your 2+2s. But I hated it. First thing in the morning, not a morning person, also didn't like exercise. And so I told my teacher, and I told people that we had a dog and stuff that we never had. I was like,
that's great.
We got a pink and purple poodle.
That's good. Yeah. Kids that would like lie about their dad's jobs and like summer holidays was the big one. Like, oh, what did you do? Oh, well, dad works for Disney. So we went, you know, it was always like some kid that would come
shit.
in.
Yeah. But I told my teacher that I came in, I was already playing it up. I was just really solemn standing in the classroom. She's like, oh, it's time to go outside. And I'm kind of dragging my feet and I'm going. And she's like, Jordan, are you okay? And I was like, actually, no, I'm not.
Funny you ask. Funny that you would just randomly ask because of my general demeanor.
I'm like 5 years old and I'm like, yeah, mum left last night. She's like, what? And I'm like, she's moved to New Zealand. Yeah. And I said, she's not even coming back for Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember doing
Christmas.
This.
Not Christmas.
Not coming back for Christmas. And like, I think I was just saying words that I'd heard on TV that meant like, I was like, this is a big deal. I'd like probably just seen I Am Sam or something and was like, you know what can get me out of PE? And abandoned, like a mother who's abandoned me.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have to do PE that morning. And then I was like, fine, and carried on with the day. And then my mum came and picked me up. And the teacher was like, aren't you?
Oh, she's, wow.
You were back? And I was like, see ya. Thank you.
And then what? Any follow-up the next day or anything?
I think she followed up with my mum, and that's how this story has become legend. But
I do like that because I would say the more believable version of that is that Dad left. Dad's be leaving. No, but I like that, you know, you're such a feminist that even your childhood lie has to pass the Bechdel test.
Absolutely. I wanted to flip the script.
I love it. Yeah.
I said, my mum's Erin Brockovich. She had to go.
Yeah, I think I would as a teacher be like, Dad believing. It's a little, Dad leaving. It's a little, you know, that's, but a mum leaving. It's like, that's just rare. That's, you know, that's just unique enough to be, I do think that you've hit on something here that it's one of like the first skills that you truly learn as a human is how to lie.
And then some people don't unlearn it.
Well, yeah, so the big one that I remember, and this is the thing, I think the thing that really like taught me to not lie was, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I think it was like some thing that we had to make for an assignment and I just didn't do it, didn't hand it in. And then I just told the teacher that I got like a detention, I think, or something for not handing it in. And I told the teacher that I had left it somewhere, like the door was locked to the classroom, so I had left it somewhere and someone must have taken it or it blew away or something. There's something, and like my parents got called in and basically I really O.J. Simpsoned it. The courts ruled in my favor. I got away with it. And then it's like...
The glove didn't fit.
And then it was like something where because the whole thing had... whatever I got like an extension to like, okay, well I guess quickly now do like another version of it. So I do that, and then I had until like the end of the day Friday to take it in, and I take it in and my teacher's there at his desk and I kind of try and like really avoid eye contact and nonchalantly come in, and in my head I'm like I've gotten away with murder here. This is the best. Everyone just believed it. I've slid it over and the teacher just looks at me and he goes, you and I both know what happened here, and good for you. You got away with it, and maybe that feels good, but what you have to live with now is like just knowing that you did the wrong thing and that you completely just lied. And it was like some version of that where he's like really like after school specialed me, and I like and I'd gone in there being like, this feels so good. I got away with this. It's like a turning point moment in my life where then I walked out and I was like, this is like the worst feeling that I have ever had in my entire life. This feels awful.
The guilt that comes from it. Yeah. But that's so good that you felt that way.
No, 100%. Because then,
there are people that I've just come across in my life who lie all the time. But lie about stuff where you're like, I'm going to find this out. I'm going to know. Yeah. Like your like House of Cards are really going to come. This is insane.
Someone telling you a story where there's all these different details in it. And then you're like, I told you that story and you've changed all of it.
But I also reckon that's why that teacher knew, because there were too many elements to your like story about being like, I had the thing and the wind and the...
It's interesting. It's interesting that he picked up on it, but no one else involved did. I mean, obviously, like my parents want it. They want to believe their beautiful little baby boy. Principal probably couldn't give a rat's ass what's going on.
Yeah.
But because, when I finished school, we knew this guy who some girls that I was friends with were really good friends with this guy who actually had gone to my school, but I hadn't really known him at the school. Yeah. And they were all like really close with him, and they were all like, he's the best guy. And me and my other friend were like, he's fine. Yeah. And then there was like one night where he'd been acting really weird and we were all talking about him, and one of the girls in the group was like, guys, look, I've been sworn to secrecy about this, but the reason he sometimes doesn't come to things and this and that, is that he made me swear that I would never tell anyone else. So you guys can't repeat this. But he basically, when he was in year 10, he got picked up by ASIO and has been trained as a spy. And so when he was late to that party, it's because he had spy training. And then I'll never forget this moment.
No!
Like 4 or 5 other girls in the group, their faces all drop and they go, he told me that as well. And he told me not to tell anyone that I was the only bit. And me and my friend who'd been sus on him the whole time, we're just rejoicing because we're like, oh, the wheels are falling off.
Because nothing feels fucking better. And okay, I need to calm down because I sound insane right now. But there is something so... I don't know, gratifying, because you can be wrong about so many things in the world, but when you have a weird vibe on someone, when you're like something is amiss, especially if you're like I can't really nail it, like I don't know what it is, and then you peel back the layers and it's something fucking so strange.
You know
like
who this
ASIO.
guy? You know who this guy was, and there'd be heaps of pop culture examples, but basically. Because this was had been on more or less around the same time, that in that first season of the OC, I don't know if you ever read that.
I'm just
Oliver,
watching. I just finished the Oliver
right,
Trash
that
timeline.
Oliver guy. Right. So literally, this was those episodes had just been on, and it was sort of the same thing. It was it was my really good friend's girlfriend was super into this guy, and my friend would be like, I kind of think he might be in love with you. And she'd be like, no, we're just really close. Guys and girls can be friends. There's nothing sus going on. And we were like, something's is off about this guy. And then a couple of years after that, he went overseas and he came back and he had this girlfriend that he'd met overseas, and she would always be commenting on his page on Facebook and going back and forth and everything. And we were like, okay. And then one day, this is kind of early days of this technology, and we just had a friend who knew how to do this. He took the photos off her Facebook page and did the reverse image search. And
catfish
it was
vibes.
This guy, he had made this profile. He had made this fake profile and was commenting back and forth on his page. And at this point, it's okay, well, what do you do with this information now? It's you can't confront them. You don't know what they're going to do.
And it is and it's all, I think I find these people, it's the Belle Gibsons and stuff of the world too, where you're these people who just lie until they just can't go back and they don't even know what the truth is anymore. Yeah. I think part of it is because I was such a liar when I was a kid. I'm you can see the fork in the road where you either you have that moment where you're I've never felt this bad. I feel so guilty.
Yeah.
Or you just keep
You
going.
just continue getting away with it. 100%. Because it is fascinating thinking about the Belle Gibsons, etc. of the world.
Obsessed.
That walk away from this 60 Minutes interview that is a bloodbath where they just get
what did she say?
Headed off at every pass.
How old are you? I believe I'm 26.
Right.
Can you say that you're 26? I think I am around 26 years.
It makes me think of on The Simpsons when Spinal Tap play and there's a riot at their show and then the next day they're on the bus and they're like, good show last night. It just made because these people, they're walking out of there not going oh my God, I got to try and block that from going to air.
Yeah.
They probably walk away going yep, I've done it again. I've gotten away with it. Belle rides again.
Because their perspective of themselves is just so warped as well. It's Elizabeth Holmes too. Just being yeah. I'm going to, and being eventually this thing that I've made up will come true. Even though with the blood stuff, her being we'll just invent a machine that people have been trying to invent for hundreds of years real quick.
Yep.
By the time investors start to get worried.
Yeah. I've got her cookbook. I bought her cookbook off eBay.
Elizabeth Holmes has a cookbook?
No, sorry. The Belle Gibson. The Belle Gibson cured my cancer cookbook.
Yes.
Because I just found it very funny. And I looked it up on eBay and I just thought it was a funny thing to have in the house.
Wow.
And then we had some people around for dinner, friends of my fiance, and one of her friends is a doctor, and he's I kind of only put this together later on, but he's clocked it on the bookshelf immediately as he's come in, and then end of the night he comes sidling up to me, he's hey, I got to talk to you about a book I saw in a bookshop. I was like, oh no, I've just got that because I think it's funny. Like I bought it off eBay. It's like I don't have it from back in the day.
Either side of it is just like Pete Evans paleo cookbooks.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson, the carnivore diet.
Yep. I cooked one thing out of there and it was like up there with one of the worst things I've ever had. Let the cancer take me, honestly. Like it's disgusting what's in there.
There's just too much sweet potato, surely.
It's like fritters but cooked in like coconut oil.
Yeah.
Which just like completely fucked up an entire pan.
That is so 2012 as well, to just be like corn fritters with we put coconut oil in everything back then.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we were like, hang on, what is it?
Yeah. Well, hey, speaking of weird beliefs.
Yeah.
In answer to the question of what would people say is your this made me laugh out loud when I read it yesterday. The question of what would people say is your main area of expertise. You just answered Mormon culture.
Yeah.
So is this because they are, there's like a weird, obviously like pop culture fascination with them.
Yeah.
You've got your housewives, then you've got your spin-off, whatever the other.
The Mormon wives. And then there's sister wives as well.
And obviously there's like the Book of Mormon musical. There just is something about them that really captures people in a lot of different ways. Is your interest in it born from one of those shows, or is there like an underlying, because there is something about it that is, I don't think most people really care to dig into any other religions that aren't their own, or that they, you can be non-religious but still be like, I need to know everything about Mormonism.
I need to know.
It's so unique and kind of fascinating from the outside.
And I think it was also because to be a Mormon, you really have to have faith. Because it's crazy.
You have to be able to go, hey, look, no tea or coffee. I get it. But just absolutely knocking back the Pepsis from sun up to sundown.
I found out it recently. I always thought the no tea or coffee thing was to do with caffeine. It has nothing to do with that. It's a hot drink.
Yeah. Well,
they can't have hot drinks.
Yeah. It's the heat.
It's the heat.
Ah, interesting.
Because Brigham Young was like the head of their like health or whatever back then.
Yep.
And he was like, no hot drinks.
Yeah, because being like, it does seem like a weird workaround to be able to go.
Yeah.
But I am allowed to just absolutely knock back the Dr. Peppers all day. Like,
God, I would
when you
give
see on those shows
anything.
them kicking off the day with just a frosty sarsaparilla at 8 a.m. is crazy.
With so much, and it'll be like with 3 pumps of coconut and all this other shit. And it's just like,
what's the chain called? The like soft drink chain.
Is it called Gulp? I think it's called Gulp.
I think it's something
like
let me look it up, because I just listened to a whole podcast about this where they were fixating on it. Mormon soft drink chain US. Let me get this up.
It is just like, and I think like
Swig.
Thank you. Gulp. So close.
I was like, this is so annoying. I know it starts with an S.
Yeah. No, totally. And I was like, I'm pretty sure Big Gulp is what Juno drinks.
Yeah. Big Gulp's like I think that's just the brand. Anyway, whatever. But Swig is a chain where you go and it's like almost like a Cold Rock scenario where you're getting bits of crushed up shit in your soft drink and you can mix like multiple flavors.
There's something about it that I'm like, I would fucking love to like try one of them. I want to drink the size of my head.
I agree.
And I want to sit in a parking lot.
It is so funny to be like, Coke's just not cutting it anymore.
No.
We have nothing else.
We need to jack it up.
Yeah, we need to have the weirdest version of soft drinks that we can possibly get our hands on. But so where's the beginning of the fascination of the culture?
I think
it's because you're across a lot of like the housewivesy sort of stuff.
Yeah,
you're into the Salt Lake City one.
I love it. It's great.
But they're all ex, right? Are they out of the church or they're in the church?
No, some of them are still in it, but they're kind of lapsed. And it's funny because some of the ex-Mormon girls, a couple of them who got excommunicated, they get kind of, the 2 who got excommunicated, they're cousins, which I think in Mormonism is a bit timey-wimey.
You're not allowed to be a cousin?
Well, I think it's hard to find out who isn't a cousin.
Sure.
But they are like old Mormonism, like they are descendants from like the first Mormons.
Oh shit! Okay.
So they're like Mormon royalty, but they got excommunicated. So they have these weird like uptight views on some of the more modern Mormon girls. They're like, you don't wear garments, so you're not a real Mormon. And then
because Salt Lake City's the one that it's one of the big ones that people really ride for.
Yes.
Some form of Bravo is on in the house at most hours of the day. So I absorb a lot of this stuff via osmosis.
Yeah.
I could probably talk to you more in depth about Below Deck than I could talk to about most other things.
Below Deck is great.
I don't think Lauren's ever gone in on the Salt Lake City, but she did watch the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Yeah.
Because this sort of ties into another thing that you were talking about how you're very chronically online and across a lot of that stuff. And Lauren was like, hey, do you want to watch this? And I was like, I could give or take it. And she's like, well, the interesting thing about this is that they've all clearly been boffing one another. And there's like a big TikTok thing about how they're all rooting each other's husbands, but they're like sort of denying it, but like not publicly saying it. And I was like, okay, I think you've said just the right things to get me in here.
And I think what was so funny about it is that there was in the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, there was a lot of speculation about what the actual swingers parties were like.
Right.
Because in the show, they're pushing that they like would just make out or they did everything except sex. And like half of them were like, we weren't even involved in it. But then like midway through the series coming out, one of the girls just like fully confirmed that they were all fucking.
Hell yeah.
and so you know that, and some of the girls weren't involved, but there was a group of them who definitely were. And it's so funny knowing that and watching them all be like, we need to get over the swinging thing because it wasn't even a real thing. But yeah, I don't know much about the Mormon religion, but just Mormon culture.
That was going to be the fact that you specified Mormon culture. I was like, now how much of the actual like faith and beliefs is she across? Or more it's just like the rooting and the soft drinks seem to be the big go-tos. The Killers. I mean, the Killers are something else because I went to have you seen them perform live recently? No, not recently, or in fact, ever.
I loved it. I loved Hot Fuss and Sam's Town when I was younger.
Yep.
And I went to see them live with Luca Muller.
Okay.
And we were excited. And they came out, they played all the hits.
Of course.
They did it all. I was worried they were going to do some new stuff. Like, happy for them to do it. Obviously, it's their lives. But I was like, secretly, I'm like, please just sing Smile Like You Mean It.
Do the old stuff. I'll allow you a plug for your hot sauce brand.
Yeah,
midway through. Just
give me what I need.
Yeah.
But they did it. They planned it out beautifully where they played like 3 songs that you like and then one new one, which is so Hillsong vibes.
Oh, really?
There was a Brandon Flowers at one point. He's got veneers. His forehead doesn't move. He's wearing like an open button shirt.
Yep.
He looked like Tom Cruise in that Oprah episode where he's like jumping on the couch.
Yeah, okay.
That was the energy
Great.
he brought to the concert. And then like this one point that I'll never forget is he was like, this one goes out to all the women. and I was like, all right, well, my ears are pricked. What have you got for me?
Yeah.
And he was just singing this song that was like, you're so soft, but you keep me like on track. Like that's not the song at all. But that was like the vibe of being a woman is there to keep you warm and tell you when you're being wrong. And then there was this like static graphic behind him that was just like a big cloud lady, like a lady in the sky.
Oh my God.
With like the perfect tits and like perfect body. I'm like, thank you.
Good on you, Brando.
That's all of us. Yes, that's all women.
One last thing I quickly want to ask you about that is something that I've I am under the impression is a bit of a expertise knowledge area for you because your last festival show was called Saturn Return. Lol. Yep. So would it be fair to say that you're across a lot of astrology stuff?
Yeah.
A lot of like what's going on out there.
Imagine the dumbest person you know spent 5 minutes with an astrologer in a room. That's what I am.
Okay,
I can give you so much baseline shit.
And then I'm the dumber person underneath that who's just getting all of my information. This is trickle down economics of astrology.
That's how I feel. And I also am like, if there are any like real astrologers out there who heard the shit that I spit, It's just based off like 3 TikToks that I saw.
Hey, this is what podcasting is. You want on every podcast you do to say at least one thing that is going to make a person who that's their job throw their phone across the room in anger.
Absolutely. And another person who's never heard of that topic before boldly telling everyone at their workplace a fact that they learned on your podcast, which isn't a fact.
We want people at work tomorrow going, hey, you know, Brandon Flowers, he's got a lot of kids. And we want Brandon Flowers tuning in being like, I've got like 2 kids. What the fuck?
I want to get sued for defamation by Brandon Flowers.
Yes. But we were talking about this briefly off air, and I won't go into too much detail, but by the time this goes up, it will be the year of our Lord 2025.
Holy shit.
And maybe some people can relate to this, but for me and for pretty much everyone in my friendship circle and so many people that I know, 2024, hell of a year, just rough stuff. Everyone, like so many people I know having had like these like just devastating relationship breakups, work dramas, family health stuff. Like it just is all happening.
Yeah.
It's all been happening to me in my household, and then getting a moment of reprieve, and then just like then a friend's going through it. So then you're spending a lot of time like kind of canceling them and absorbing a lot of that. And so, I mean, I can't say I've ever bought in too heavily on astrology.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is undeniable this year that something's going on.
Something is
fucking going on out there.
Do you know what, actually, like, because I was a skeptic for so long. Like, I wouldn't believe this shit ever. It wasn't until, like, maybe lockdowns, which is, you know, again, culty. They get you when you're low. But actually, working at the zoo made me believe in, like, well, at least how much the moon affects behavior.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it affects the animals. Why wouldn't it affect us? And like,
well, even just like this is such like, you know, 4 a.m. on the bong
Yeah,
kind of chat, but like, but the tides, the ocean, like that's all affect. So why wouldn't everything on Earth have some sort of like response to it?
It affects our behavior.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't know. But it is fun to know. But I do know that this year was gonna be like, according to these like astrologers that I follow on TikTok, was gonna be fucked because Pluto is coming out of something.
Okay,
that's all I can tell you. But it's coming.
That's as deep as you've gone.
But I kept getting all this stuff being like, what's your star sign?
Virgo.
And you've had a fucked year.
Am I not meant to have?
No. It's interesting because a couple of my Virgo friends have had fucked years as well.
Interesting.
Or like had people around them, and I'm not speaking on behalf of you, I'm speaking on behalf of other Virgo friends. And this is, again, me, like, imagine that meme of that guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the fucking mind maps. But it's been people having a tough time because they've had someone close to them lose their mind as well.
Oh, interesting.
Or just go a bit like behave poorly, and then they're just dealing with that.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
Yeah, anyway, it's just something not speaking.
Well, because Lauren's star sign is Leo.
Oh, yeah.
And what's the theory there?
Oh, I'm just trying to think. Well, Leos they can get through tough times. A couple of my actually 2 of my Leo friends have had some bad like personal stuff happen to them, and like historical stuff like that's come up recently as well.
Oh,
but apparently this year is supposed to be the end of a 15-year cycle. So like on November 19, and I know this because friend of the show, Irvi Majumdar, came around and we got high and watched the Olivia Rodrigo concert.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because we were like, we keep getting all this stuff saying that our lives are about to change on the 19th of November, and it's all supposed to be positive, but it was freaking us out.
Just in case.
Yeah. We were like, well, let's just be together and be stoned.
Take down some Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah.
We might get hit by it, but life's too short. Life's too short to not watch the Guts World Tour.
But all these people were saying that like Pluto and I think Saturn have been like doing something since 2008, which was also a great year. The financial stuff happened.
Yep.
And it's been like that since then. It's been like a 15-year cycle.
Right.
And certain signs have been feeling it really tough, which is the cardinal signs, which is Capricorn, Libra and something else. I'm Libra. I was like, I feel like I've had a fine life, but yeah, sure, it's been a struggle. Sometimes they're like, you've been really going through it, and I was like, not really. It could be worse.
I mean, maybe for some people, but I guess I'm just wired a bit.
Because I'm just resilient.
Yeah,
I don't know what it
tough.
is. But apparently everything was supposed to like this Pluto coming back. At the end of November was supposed to be like a big like shake and stuff like that. And if you look at the last few weeks, like the election in the States, everything happening with that comedy management that blew up, all these things happening, and I think it's easy. That's what astrology is. It's coincidence and looking at everything.
And the brain notices those things. It doesn't notice all the ways that things are different.
100%. And because somebody told me that about the 15-year cycle, now I can't stop
you see
seeing
it everywhere.
It.
Yeah.
But then there's people having big wins along with their like fuck ups as well.
Sure. I mean, we had all this bad stuff happen, but also we got to see the Rizzler go on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. So
and thank
you really got to take, you got to take the good with the bad.
You take the good with the bad. Trump won the election, but we got that beautiful Wicked movie.
Oh yes, we got the press cycle for the Wicked movie. There you have it, folks. Jordan Barr. Great episode. Loved that chat with Jordan. Like I said up the top, huge fan of her and her work. Go check out her podcast, Pop Gaze, if you've not heard that before, and go and see her live on tour. I've seen her shows before and they're great. Really, really recommend going and seeing Jordan live. And get onto the Patreon, patreon.com/howtodoeverything. If you want to have a chat about the things that came up in this episode, what are your experiences with pathological lying, either in childhood or adulthood? Are you yourself a pathological liar and you're happy to out yourself on the Patreon? Let me know. Let me know if you're a devout Mormon and you can give more insight into just the culture side of things. Not the specifics of the religion, not interested in that. We just want to know about more stuff in the vein of the killers and the, hitting huge volumes of soft drinks throughout the day. Thank you for joining me for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Get onto the podcast app of your choice and leave the show a nice review if you are enjoying it. It does genuinely really help. I really appreciate you tuning in and listening. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.